All right. Welcome to the podcast guesting masterclass. We are so excited to be here with you this week. My name is Jessica Rhodes. I am the founder and co owner of Interview Connections, and we are here to teach you live this week how to get clients and build your brand with podcast guesting. And I want you to say yes in the chat if you are done feeling like and being the best kept secret. You feel like the best kept secret, and today is the day that stops. You are ready for the tools to get visible, to be seen, to be heard, to reach new audiences because you're done being the best kept secret. I want you to say yes in the chat right now. We grew our company, Interview Connections, which is a done for you podcast booking agency, to seven figures. We had our first seven-figure year in 2019. We did that with no paid ads. We had a very tiny social media presence and a very small email list. And the way we grew to seven figures was by very strategic networking, by relationship building, and our primary strategy for networking and building relationships with clients and referrals was being a guest on podcasts through podcast guesting. So give me a yes in the chat if you're excited about that.
Yes, I am Margie. I'm the CEO of Interview Connections. We have been doing this for over a decade. We have booked over 1,000 entrepreneurs as guests on podcasts. We've booked over 40,000 podcast interviews. So, whenever you are consuming free content from anyone, the first question you should ask is, what makes this person qualified to teach on this? This is why we're qualified to teach on this. And we're so excited to teach you how to use podcast guesting to grow your business and to no longer be the best kept secret in your industry. You will have access to the replays of this masterclass until Monday at midnight. So join us live every day, same time, same Zoom link if you can, but we will have replays if you need them, if you have to miss a day. Go to interviewconnections.com/workbook. Just put that in the chat at the start as well to follow along in our workbook. If you have a printer that works, you can print it. If you have a printer that doesn't cooperate with you like we have, then you can just have a digital copy. We will have giveaways. So everyone attending live today, if you are on at the end of the session when we do the giveaway, you are eligible to win a free microphone. So make sure you stick with us.
Yes. So again, my name is Jessica Rhodes. And in 2013, 12 years ago, I started booking my dad, who is a business coach, as a guest on podcasts because I wanted to be a stay at home mom. That's how I got started in business. I wanted to be a stay at home mom. And my dad said, you should start a virtual assistant business. I'll be your first client. Book me as a guest on podcast. So that was 12 years ago. My dad had been previously traveling to seminars and conferences to gain visibility to his target market. I remember seeing pictures of him, in front of a trade show booth, going to conferences, speaking to, these rooms of business owners. That was how he grew his business. And give me a yes in the chat or just say me if you relate to that. If you've done a lot of, people call it belly to belly marketing, out in person, traveling, sleeping at a Holiday Inn, going to a conference, going to an event. This was how my dad grew his business and it worked. But there came a point where it was pretty tiring. It was pretty expensive. And you have to ask yourself, is all of this time and effort and, away from my family really worth it? And so his good friend said, literally the quote was, dude, you should get interviewed on podcast. So my dad started getting interviewed on podcasts, and that was the key to him growing his business to new levels without the hassle or the hustle of traveling to events all over the country. And also, it was the key to him not worrying about the social media algorithm. He, like many of us here, consistently posted on social media to keep visibility, but it was never his primary marketing strategy. Give me a yes in the chat if you're kind of over figuring out the social media algorithm and you want a way to just get actual visibility to people who are actually listening to you, right? So, podcast guesting was the key to my dad growing his business without worrying about social media and without the hassle or the hustle of constantly traveling to different events, boots on the ground, hustling person to, face to face. And just a few months after I started booking my dad as a guest on podcasts and seeing how incredibly effective and efficient this marketing strategy was, I decided to go all in and start the world's first podcast booking agency. We were the first podcast booking agency to market. No other companies in 2013 were doing this. I founded Interview Connections. And then, in addition to booking my clients as guests on podcasts and booking my clients' podcast appearances and interviews, I leveraged that strategy as well to get interview connections in front of new audiences, to educate the market on what I was doing. And podcast guesting was the primary strategy that we leveraged to grow it to seven figures with no paid ads, a very small social media audience, and a tiny, tiny email list of mostly clients. And what we are teaching this week, as Margie said, it's not from theory. It's not regurgitated information from other experts. Give me a yes in the chat if you're done attending webinars with regurgitated information. It is what we have learned from 12 years of booking over 40,000 podcast interviews for 1,000 clients. And I said that correctly. We have worked with 1,000 paying clients that we have booked for over 40,000 podcast interviews. And the interviews that they have done that we booked for them have generated millions of dollars in sales. So that is where the information that we're going to bring to you this week is coming from.
So put it in the chat. What are your goals for podcast guesting? What led you to register for this masterclass to show up live with us today? What is your goal? What does it look like? And what results would have you not just start this strategy, but continue this strategy long term in your business? Because when we're working with clients, when we're educating people on this, we don't just want people to dabble in podcast guesting. We really want you to go all in so that you can get the full benefits of what consistency with this strategy can do for your business. All right, amazing. Oh, these goals look great. Raise awareness of my business, visibility, reach, global market, global movement. Beautiful. Yes. And with podcasts, you are reaching a global audience. That's perfect. So Jess and I worked together. We were actually canvassers knocking on doors. We were fundraising for an environmental nonprofit. I became the first employee of Interview Connections in 2017 and co-owner and CEO in 2018. I have spent the last few years working in the service delivery part of the business. They are now a fully self-led Scrum team. Our service delivery team is incredible. We have 11 full-time employees who are local to us in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. They are a fully self-led, self-managing team. They are amazing, and that is what allows Jess and I to be here with you on this masterclass while they are taking great care of our clients.
So, a quick overview of the sessions before we dive in. Today is session one, and we're going to be teaching you how to get clients. We're going to be teaching you all of the secrets to getting clients from podcast guesting. This is why you're here. You're here to stop being the best kept secret, to grow your business and get new clients. So, if you want visibility to new audiences so that you can get more clients, today's session is for you. Tomorrow is session two, podcast guest media training. In order to monetize your podcast appearances and to get clients, you need to be a really great guest. You need to be prepared with a podcast one sheet. And there are several things you can be doing before your podcast interviews, during your interviews, and after your interviews to maximize the results. So that is what tomorrow's session is all about.
Session 3 is going to be how to repurpose your podcast interview. So this is going to be a very tactical session. Note taking is a good idea. It's very actionable to show you how exactly you can take your interviews that you're getting from being a guest on podcasts and turn them into more content and use them to book more consult calls and close more sales. Session 4 is going to be podcast guesting success stories. So we're going to have a panel of some of our most successful clients who are in all different types of industries share their podcast journey and their strategies that they've used to make the most out of this and to get an incredible ROI from this strategy.
All sessions are going to be recorded and they're recorded live here on Zoom. We are actually here. This isn't one of those crazy webinars where it looks live, but it's actually recorded. Like we're here live on Zoom with you. And then we're going to post the replays onto YouTube and send them out to you. We're going to text them and email them out each afternoon. And you'll have access until Monday, September 15th at midnight. All right, that was all the housekeeping. We're going to dive right in. Type yes in the chat if you're ready to get started and you're ready to learn the ways that you can get clients from podcast guesting. Yes, let's go. All right. So, The three main ways that our clients, the 1,000 clients that we have worked with over the last 12 years, the three main ways that they are getting new clients from podcast guesting, they fall into three different buckets: the host of the show, the audience of the show, the listeners of that podcast, and then their own audience, the people that already follow them.
All right, so this is going to be a very no fluff session. We're going to go through each of these three buckets and we're going to go through why it works, how to do it. So, number one, we have the host, why it works. Hosts are influential people who own their own media and they have built a dedicated audience of people who trust them. Most of the hosts of podcasts that you'll be a guest on are successful entrepreneurs. They're investing in growing their brands with their podcast and building their audience. And podcast audiences are very, very high trust. So even a smallish or medium sized audience is going to be very, very targeted and very, very high trust. And that makes it very valuable. Hosts are incredibly well connected. So if you host a weekly podcast, you are interviewing 52 people a year. So these hosts know a lot of people. They have this audience. They have also these connections with all of these guests. So hosts are great people for you to know. Our client, Jonathan Porter Wisman, is a 9-figure entrepreneur. He has multiple SaaS companies. We booked him on dozens of podcasts, and one of the hosts of a show that we booked him on booked him to speak on a live stage and introduced him to multiple other CEOs. So these hosts are super connectors. They are great people to know.
Yeah, this is a very strategic networking strategy. So if you have grown your business through referrals and word of mouth, let me know in the chat if that's you. Just say me if you've grown through referrals and word of mouth and you have this network of people that really know you and can make really solid recommendations. That is essentially what it's like to network with podcast hosts. They get to know you at a deep level and then they refer people to you. They make strategic introductions. So this is just amplifying what you're already doing that's working. So here's how to do it. Number one, target the right shows so that you're in conversation with podcast hosts who are potential clients and referral partners. This works when you're on podcasts hosted by people who are ideal referral partners, people that have your ideal clients in their audience, or who where the podcast host themselves is somebody that could become your client. I cannot tell you how many clients we've worked with who tell us that the host of that show became my client. They interviewed me and then said they want to work with me. So, getting booked on podcasts where the host of the show fits the description of an ideal client or fits the description of a referral partner, that is the number one way that you can start monetizing your podcast interviews. So, put it in the chat right now. Tell everyone here, tell me and Margie, who is your ideal client? Who do you want to be speaking to? What types of hosts would you need to connect with if you're wanting to get more clients? Tell us who your ideal client is. As you're typing that, as you're typing that, I'm going to give you some more tips. So, I mentioned we're talking about before, during, and after the interview. So, number one, before the interview, build a genuine relationship with the podcast host. So the host is not going to become your client if you just do the bare minimum and you don't connect with them and you don't nurture that relationship with them. So before the interview, so for example, if you're a client of Interview Connections, and I hope that you do end up working with us if it's a good fit, if you're working with us and using our done for you service, you want to learn about that, book a call at interviewconnections.com/call. We're going to book you on podcasts where the host is an ideal client or an ideal referral partner. And the first step is we're going to connect you with that host via email. So that's the first point of contact is you're connecting with them via email. So what you would do at that point is schedule the interview, of course, but then go find that host on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or wherever you're connected with people, wherever you're active on social media for business. So connect with them. Now, another great tip is that if you are an author, our client Gabriella Mbon does this, you can send the podcast host a copy of your book. Schedule the interview and say, hey, what's your mailing address? I would love to send you a copy of my book before our interview. When you get your book on the desk of the people who are going to interview you, not only are they now going to be thinking about you every time they look at your book, they're more likely to read it. And I would do this preferably over sending a PDF of your book because they're gonna just download that. It's gonna sit in their download folder. So, um, send a physical copy of your book. Like I said, connect with the host on social media prior to the interview so that way you can start getting a relationship going there and you can see each other's posts. Listen to their show before the interview. This is a way that you can really prepare and get to know their vibe, get to know them a little bit, get to know the style of the show. And that way, when you get on the podcast with them, you can tell them, hey, I listened to your episode with this person. I really loved it. I heard that you talked about this. It just starts the relationship on off on a much stronger footing. And then make the most of the green room chat. So, the green room chat is the time that you're speaking with the host before the actual recording. So, ask them, you know, tell me more about your audience. How can I make this a great episode for your listeners? Um, why did you start your podcast? That is a great question to ask podcast hosts. Why did they start their podcast? I can't even predict what people will say. It will help you get to know them. Maybe you'll even uncover something about them and their story that makes it a great fit for you to work together. Our client Isaac Ho asked people, "Why did you start your podcast?" And in the answer, he discovered a pain point that they have. And he goes, "I think I could really help you with that. Would you like to schedule another call?" Like, not a sales call, just I think I could give you some pointers here. And he's closed clients as podcast hosts because he learned more about them, saw ways that he could support them, and asked if they wanted to have a separate call. You can also ask hosts to become affiliate partners. This is a really great way to leverage podcast guesting to maximize the ROI of podcast guesting. So it's not just about, you know, a host becoming a client or a referral partner or, you know, having their listeners sign up, but it's them now promoting you to their whole audience. Maybe they become an affiliate and then they're emailing about you to their entire list. They're going to be promoting your interview so much more because they're going to get commission on people who sign up with you. Our clients Jack and Michelle Bosch do this. They're always asking podcast hosts if they want to be an affiliate, and they've made millions of dollars in sales from podcast guesting. It is just a very reliable, predictable lead generation and sales acquisition strategy. And they're always asking podcast hosts if they'd like to become an affiliate partner.
All right. During the interview, be a great guest. This is a huge way to build your relationship with the host and also the audience, but we're focused on the host right now. We are doing an entire session tomorrow on podcast media training because being a great guest is so important. So make sure you join us tomorrow so that we're going to go into exactly how to be a great guest. This is important. Podcast hosts put so much effort into their show, into creating valuable content for their audience. So when you show up and deliver an interview that's really good, they're going to love you. They're going to connect with you. So that's really important. After the interview, share the podcast. So once it goes live, this is a no-brainer. This is also good for you. It's a win-win. But this shows the host that you care about them, that you're investing in helping them grow their show, which again is depositing into that emotional bank account with that host and forming that connection. Continue building their relationship just like you would with any other business relationship. So with our clients, we have a co-tracker sheet where we track all of the podcasts that we book them on. So having some kind of way to track shows you've been on and make sure you're connected with hosts on social media, maybe check in with them, build those relationships, continue them after the interview has gone live, and look for ways to provide a win-win that feels natural. We had a podcast host who interviewed Jess, who makes websites, and it was a great interview. Jess invited him to come speak to our clients and do a training on how to have a great website, and a lot of them became his clients. So finding those natural opportunities for collaboration and connection are so important. And then stay connected with them, like we just said. This is your network. You're building your network. It's not just getting in front of audiences, you're also building your network. Yeah, someone reminded me to smile. My 9-month-old baby got me sick. So I am trying to stay high energy here, but thank you all for bearing with me.
You're doing great, Margie.
Thank you so much.
Everyone tell Margie she's doing amazing. She's a
Well,
new
and
mom.
thank goodness that we're doing this virtually and I'm not on a stage right now. Benefits of podcasting and being on Zoom that I can get through this right now.
I love it. Yes. And I'm overcompensating too. I'm like, we're bringing the energy. That's why we're such a good duo. Margie and I worked together for so long. We like to keep it real, which is another, yeah, that's a benefit of podcast guesting. It's all about authenticity. Oh, all right. I love the love in the chat. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the audience of the show. Actually, real quick, we just had a moment in the chat giving Margie some love. But what is your favorite tip about the host of the show? Because we just gave you a lot. It was kind of a fire hose of information. There were so many little actionable tips, and I just want to take a beat to make sure you've written down at least one thing that you're going to do because this is huge. If the only thing you listen to is the last 10 minutes, you will see a great ROI from podcast guesting. So, sending them a book prior to the podcast, the green room tips. Yeah, ask the host in the green room, how can I make this a great episode for your show? Why did you start your podcast? Affiliate partnerships? Yes. Listen to the show beforehand. Let the host know what you loved. Absolutely connect with the host on social media. Target the right podcasts for your target market. Send them your products to try beforehand, especially if you're a product-based entrepreneur, sending them, some samples. Okay, amazing. I just wanted to make sure you all got the goodness there. Develop a relationship beforehand, 100%. All right, now let's get into the audience of the show. Why does this work? The audience is spending 30 to 45 minutes listening to you speak with a podcast host that they already know, like, and trust. On average, tell me, how long do you think someone spends with you when they watch an Instagram video or when they read your post on LinkedIn? Give me a guess. I know, I'll look at the insights. Average watch time, 7 seconds. Now, maybe that means my videos could be better, but even if they watched 100% of the video, it's like a 1-minute video, okay? When somebody hears you on a podcast, they're spending 30 to 45 minutes with you. That is a long time. That's a lot of videos. That is a lot of social media posts if you're adding up the time. So you're getting so much more mileage, so many more touch points just by doing one podcast. Podcast audiences are warm audiences. They are the next best source of warm potential clients after referrals. You know, if there we learned from great business mentor Kelly Roach that if you look at your lead generation and you look at where your sales can come from, picture a bullseye, and in the middle of the bullseye, your current clients, having your current clients buy more things from you, renew, and then next it's your reactivations and then referrals. Those are the easiest people to sell to. On the outside of the bullseye is like people that just saw you on an ad yesterday. They're super cold. They don't know who you are. And so much of the time we're spending time out here, but you can close so many more sales so much more easily when you focus on the warmer audiences, which are people who hear you speak, who spend 30 to 45 minutes with you, who are introduced to you by a referral source, which in this case would be the host of the show, somebody that they already know, like, and trust. And also, it works because you are giving them value first before asking for a sale. You're earning their trust. People, like, I saw a post on social media where somebody was talking about how, like, so many people just go into cold DM and just ask for the sale, ask to book a call. I can sell you this. And it's like, you didn't give me any value. You're just asking for something without building a relationship first. When you're a guest on podcasts, you're providing value to those listeners before ever asking for something in return.
All right, let's talk about how to do it. So, number one, the most important thing is that you are in front of the right people. You need to get booked on podcasts that are speaking directly to your target audience. Get in the right rooms. More isn't more. This is so, so important. Your specific goals and target audience are the North Star that should be guiding the strategy. So when people don't understand the strategy or they don't have clarity, they tend to just go for volume and just be like, well, I guess I just need to be on the biggest shows possible. And we have seen this really not work for our clients because those aren't their audiences. They're not their targeted people that they need to be speaking with. So focus, focus, focus. There's so much noise. There's so many vanity metrics flying around, but really you're focusing on, like we said, who is the host And who is this target audience? Is the show speaking to your audience? Are these your people? That is where, especially if your goal is to get clients, that is where this is going to be the best use of your time. Be consistent. So, this is not the type of strategy that you can just do a couple podcast interviews and say, like, oh, it worked or it didn't work. This is ongoing, like so many marketing strategies. You want to be consistent. We're testing, we're tweaking, we're going to be evolving our messaging. So, you never want to stop having visibility on your business. The visibility continues, and you are getting this information of how is it going? Are people following my CTA? Am I resonating with audiences? Are the hosts working, right? Testing and tweaking. When we work with our clients, we do a lot of testing and tweaking. Every 10 interviews, we do an audit. So we listen to our client's interview and we offer feedback. So you need to think about it like that, right? Like, I know I need to invest consistency a year in this. Doing 3 to 4 interviews a month for a year is what we usually recommend to really get your footing and build up momentum, build up a momentum of a stream of new leads and clients from podcast guesting in your business. And then be a great guest. This was in the host section, and it's also in the audience section. When you are a great guest, audiences are going to be magnetized to you. They're going to work with you. And tomorrow's training, we are going deep into how to be a great podcast guest. So make sure you join us for that.
Before I go on to my next section here, there's a great question in the chat that I just want to address. Anka said, these are great pointers. Just wondering, in the world of AI, can we lean more on smart tools to help automate parts of this flow? A lot of us are juggling a lot. So anything that could speed up the research process or help personalize outreach would make a big difference. I really wanted to address this question. I just sent out a podcast appearance I did recently, and we can drop a link in the chat where I talked about the reputation killing impacts of AI in podcast guesting. And so on that is a great podcast to check out. But on session 3, I'll be talking more about where we use AI in podcast guesting. So definitely come to session 3 if you're like, wait, where does AI play into all of this? Because what you don't want is to replace any personalization with AI. So definitely come to session 3, and we'll drop a link to that podcast appearance where I really go into detail on AI and podcast guesting. If you don't have time to do the outreach, that is why we offer this as a done for you service. Go to interviewconnections.com/call to book a consultation. But you please don't, I will just say, don't use AI to pitch podcasts. That is going to really hurt your reputation. Find ways to, book it into your calendar or delegate it, hire an agency like ours. Again, come to session 3 so you can learn more about AI in podcast guesting. All right. Now, you're also going to want to have a strong call to action when you're a guest on podcast to convert people who are hearing you onto your email list and to booking calls with you. Now, your call to action should just be something that you already have in your business that's already working. We're not over engineering this, we're not reinventing the wheel. If you have a business and you have clients, there's already something in your business you can use as a call to action. So, some examples of calls to action that you can use, and this is again at the end of the podcast interview, the host will say, where can our listeners find you online? How can they connect with you? These are some examples of CTAs that our clients use who have had a great ROI. I've had a lot of listeners reach out to them. Our client, Timothy Wingate Jr., is a construction accountant. So he's a B2B service based entrepreneur. And he tells people you can reach me at construction.accountant, which is a URL that he got that is easy to spell and easy to remember, construction.accountant or g+f.com. And on there, you can book a call with me. So he just sends people to his website where they can book a consultation call. Great call to action. Our client, Dina Patton, is a business coach, an author, a speaker. She gets $10,000 to $20,000 a month in reoccurring revenue from people who hear her on podcasts. And she sends people to her website, dinapatton.com. She always spells it out, DENAPATTON. So either having something that's easy to spell or spelling it out is really important because people are on the go listening. And she tells everyone, you can go to my website and schedule a call and we can chat. And then you can also get my book on my website. So that's what Dina says. Again, very simple, not overthinking this, not over engineering it, not building an entirely new landing page or website, just sending people to her website where they can book a call and get a copy of her book. And then our client, Joe Sullivan, is an agency owner. So I'm giving you an example of B2B service providers, coach, speaker. Joe Sullivan's an agency owner who closed a six-figure client. Somebody heard him on a podcast, signed a six-figure contract with his company, and he always directs people to his learning center on his website where he has lots of free content. They're always publishing new content there for B2B companies in manufacturing and B2B companies solving complex problems. So right in the CTA, he's reminding people who his ideal client is. And he tells people the website, gorilla76.com/learn. And then he also says you can connect with me personally on LinkedIn. So again, these CTAs are very simple. We have other clients that will have lead magnets, gifts, quizzes, things like that, but don't overthink it, don't over-engineer it. Your CTA should be one place that you send people to where they can easily convert by getting on your email list, booking a call with you. That's it. That's what we want to do when we're a guest on podcasts. That's how we're going to see an ROI from the audience.
All right. So we've talked about the host of the podcast and the audience of the podcast. Now we're going to talk about getting clients from your own audience using your podcast interview. So, why it works. You have future clients already following you. And when you share your podcast interviews with people already in your audience, it builds even more trust with them and it allows them to see you in a different light. And sometimes listening to an interview is that last push that they needed to take that step to work with you. Your own audience hears you speak about yourself, but when they hear a host edifying you and saying how great you are and asking you questions, it's really a different way to see you. It's a different type of social proof. And this again can convert people in your own audience who may have been hanging around and watching you for a while, but needed something else to be able to say yes and to take that step. Podcast guesting is a vehicle to producing some of your best content. This is very, very true for me. 80% of people are responders. So their best content, their best speaking comes when they are responding to a great question. So it is going to add so much dimension and so much quality to your content on social media, to your email list. It is incredible how powerful some of these things are when you have someone asking you a great question. And then you'll see clips, right? Reels of your interviews, and you'll say, oh, that's really great. But if you sat down and just had your phone in front of you and was like, okay, I have to make a video because I know I need to be consistent, sometimes it's just crickets, right? You're not inspired. But when someone's asking you great questions, the content just flows out, and this creates incredible content for your current audience. It's great positioning. So you may be able to convert clients from your current audience even if they never click on and listen to a podcast interview. Because if you are consistently sharing your interviews, sharing that you're getting interviewed 3 to 4 times a month, every single month, it positions you really well. They're like, wow, this person is an expert. They are out there consistently speaking about this topic, and it builds so much trust.
Awesome. All right, let's keep it going. So let's talk about how to do it. So, number one, repurpose your interviews into social media content. We're going to tell you how to do this again in session 3. This is where you want to leverage AI. You want to leverage AI to repurpose your content into clips you can post on social media. Share links to interviews you've done with prospective clients during your sales process, before a consultation call, before a big event like a virtual masterclass. You may have noticed that I emailed and texted you all a link to a podcast appearance I did, because many of you say me in the chat if you found this masterclass because of an ad we ran on Instagram or Facebook. Just say me. Or maybe you found us through an ad last month or the month before. Okay. So basically, you all found us because we ran a paid ad. And when you saw our paid ad, you saw me talk for maybe 5 seconds, or you saw some B roll with some captions, and you're like, "Ooh, that caught my attention. I've been thinking about this. I'm going to register." At that point, you're interested. You've opted in. You've registered for a masterclass, but you don't know me. You don't know our story. You don't know how credible we are. And so intentionally, I send you a podcast I did on a really great show. And I said, please listen to this. And by listening to that, now you get to know me a little bit more. You're showing up to this masterclass feeling like you know me a little bit more than you did the moment after you signed up to attend. So that is what the title of the class is, what got Perfect, Joe. So, oh, someone's found us through AI. So there's all different ways people are going to find you. And then once they find you, leverage your podcast appearances to show your credibility, to demonstrate your authority, and to give people the opportunity to learn from you. So we do this. Our client, Mike Maynard, has a seven-figure marketing and PR firm, and he works with B2B enterprise level businesses. And so he has six-figure contracts. His sales cycle is very, very long. It's not like people are just hearing him, signing up, booking a call, and being a client. He goes through like a year-long proposal process with his clients. And so in that process, he will give podcast appearances for the decision-making team to listen to warm them up, to stay relevant, and to allow them to see that his company is an authority. Because who here has competition? And I don't mean, oh, it's all about collaborate. Like everyone has other companies that do what they do. There's other coaches, there's other service providers. We all have competition. We all have other companies in our space. And so if you want to stand apart and have your ideal clients see that you're different, that you're unique, that you are the person they want to work with, you've got to share with them podcast appearances so they can hear your story because it is your story that sets you apart. Nobody else has your story. So share your interviews with your email list to keep your audience engaged and nurtured, and also showcase them on a press page on your website. So when people find you on Google, when they're referred to you, they can easily see all of the different podcast appearances that you've done.
All right. So when people say, like, what if this doesn't work for me? My first thought is like, how could speaking and delivering value in front of your target audience not work? It's very simple. This is something that's important not to overthink. There are, however, a few things that if your goal is to monetize podcast guesting, you need to have in place at a bare minimum to monetize this strategy in your business. So you need to have clarity on who your ideal buyer is and be speaking to them. You can have a number of ideal buyers, but you need to know who you're talking to. You need to have an offer, right? You have to have something that you can sell. To monetize the podcast in your business, we work with entrepreneurs who have an offer that they're selling. They're not selling it on the podcast. The podcast is not like a sales pitch, but they have something on the back end when someone finds them from a podcast and joins their ecosystem or books a call with them. They have something of value that they're selling their ideal client. You have a way to bring someone else's audience into your audience. Don't overthink this. There's a lot of calls to action that will work. Jess gave a bunch of examples, but you have some type of way that people can connect with you who've heard you on a podcast, even if it's as simple as just booking a call. And bonus, having a home base on the web somewhere. So ideally a website, but if you have a social media where that's where you do a lot of your business, there needs to be some way that hosts and potential clients can find you online and see what you're all about so that they know who you are to either say yes to having you on the podcast or yes to moving forward to working with you. So if you are someone who's really early on and you don't have these things in place, this might be a little premature for you. But if you are an entrepreneur who has an offer and you know who your ideal clients are that you're speaking to, this is a no-brainer. So put it in the chat. What is your offer and how do you add value for your ideal clients? Let us know in the chat.
As you're sharing that in the chat, Sandra asked, do you advise us to do a Google ad campaign as well? No. Unless you are already running paid ads, you're a more mature business, you already have a paid ad campaign. We are not advising you to get paid with Google Ads. Trust us, it takes years to ramp up a Google ad campaign. And the reason I want to touch on this is because if you're thinking about a Google ad campaign, you're thinking about that because you want to be found on Google. Podcast guesting will get you found on Google because when you're a guest on podcasts, the hosts are going to put number one, the video version of your interview on YouTube. So when people are Googling your name, they're now going to see in the video section of Google search results interviews with you. And they're also going to put a link back to your website in the episode description, which is really good for your search engine optimization. So, without paying for a Google ad, without paying for SEO, you are improving your search engine optimization just by getting interviewed on podcasts. Just by being a podcast guest, you're going to be found on Google more easily. Our client, Dr. Jolie Hamilton, she should be here at the end of session 4. It's pending she has it's tentative, but she should be here at the very end. And she has gotten incredible media opportunities. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, His people contacted her to be on his podcast because of her, she calls it her wall of Google. When people Google jealousy expert, expert in consensual non-monogamy, Dr. Jolie Hamilton, she is plastered all over Google because of all of her podcast appearances. I don't believe Jolie runs any paid Google ads, but it's because she's a guest on podcasts that she's getting found on Google. So that is another huge way that you can be leveraging your podcast appearances. So don't overthink this. We see so many entrepreneurs thinking they need to, do all of these other things. Oh, wait, I need to do this now and invest in a super fancy website or get a complex funnel going. You don't need to do any of that. That is our point. When you just get on podcasts and speak to your target audience, build relationships with podcast hosts, do the things you're already doing with your current clients and referral partners, just add speaking on podcasts to it, you will grow your business. You don't need any more complexity. You don't need funnels. You don't need to figure out algorithms. You just need to show up and respond to questions, share your brilliance, and build relationships, which is what got you here. Okay. Now just add in speaking on other people's podcasts to take yourself to the next level. So if you are ready, we've already had multiple people in the chat ask, okay, wait, how much does this cost? What is this? What does it look like to work with you guys? We're a done for you agency. So some of you are asking, like, how do I find the podcast? How do I pitch? Come work with us at Interview Connections. We do this for you. So if you're looking for a way to get booked on podcasts, get connected with ideal podcast hosts, take your business to the next level, our Amplified Authority podcast tour, it's a done for you service, is for you. You'll have a dedicated booking team, our full-time team members who Margie said they're a self-led team. They're working with our clients as we speak. They will be personally finding the shows, researching, vetting, getting you booked on 3 to 4 podcasts every month that fit the description of the criteria that we're going to create with you. We'll also create your podcast one sheet, which we're going to talk more about tomorrow, but that's what's going to position you as an authority in your field. It's going to tell hosts a little bit about you, your topics and questions. And then after every 10 interviews that we book for you, we're going to audit one of your interviews. We're going to listen back to an entire episode, assess what needs to be shifted to optimize your results. We'll show you how to leverage your podcast interviews to build your brand and close more sales. We have 2 packages that you can choose from, starting with 30 bookings. So we'll talk more about this week, but book a call at interviewconnections.com/call. That'll get you on my calendar or Margie's calendar. We'll talk through, make sure it's a good fit. Go to interviewconnections.com/call to schedule a consult if you are interested in working with us to get booked on podcasts. So now we are going to be doing the microphone giveaway. So everyone take a moment, make sure you have your name as your Zoom name. We do have some questions I want to answer. Do you focus on certain types of podcasts like B2B, B2B? We work with all business owners. So if you are a business owner and you want to get national, global visibility, we can't target a local town or one specific state. But if you are a business owner, book a call. We work with business owners, not just in any specific industry. What is the cost to work with you? We'll drop a link to our one sheet. We have a package of 30, which is 17K or 9 payments of 2,000. And there is a discount if you sign up during the masterclass, bringing it to 15,500 or 10 payments of 1750. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the microphone draws. Everyone ready? So I'm going to do this old school wise. There's a whole list of people. All right. Joe Zahatis won the microphone. Joe, congratulations. We will reach out to you to get your mailing address. So congratulations, Joe, on winning the giveaway. So thank you so much for attending. Come back for session 2 tomorrow for podcast guest media training. And we will see you then. Congratulations, Joe. Amazing. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.